So I'm going to talk over this video. Uh, I am not able to actually nap and talk at the same time. I'm not that uh, versed at it like some of the elders out there in the primitive skills community. And but that's okay. I need to concentrate a little bit, and that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk over what I'm doing to make a biface out of this spall of obsidian. And a spall is basically a flake off of the main core of probably a much larger rock that it's hit off. So you've got small spalls and then you have flakes. I'll be chipping off flakes on here, and those flakes tend to be the ones that make your smaller points like arrowheads and whatnot. So I'm going to start the video and then I'm going to just try to talk through what I'm doing as an explanation. There's going to be lots of terminology. Bear with me as I try to explain. So, so right now what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the piece. I'm observing the piece. I'm feeling it. And obsidian is extremely sharp. So I'm not wearing gloves, which I do recommend you wear gloves. I'm not doing it this time. By taking my rough grit abrader and dulling down the very sharp edges so I can handle it. It also is helping me set up platforms that I can strike off flakes to help thin the piece. So I'm preparing my platforms. I'm also looking at it, observing it, seeing where I need to take off mass and whatnot. And it's a lot of square edges. And so I'm going to have to start zigzagging in order to create platforms to be able to knock flakes off of into the piece. And you'll see in a moment how I start the zigzagging process. So I'm using a copper bopper. It's not an antler or a bone or anything like that, but I'm just wanting to get this done, be quick and dirty. And I decided with a smaller piece to start my zigzagging. So as I hit the stone, the rock, I'm flipping it over and creating platforms or edges to where I can dig in to the body of the rock here, the stone. And as you can see, those little edges that I'm striking, those are what we would call a platform. And that's really thick, so I'm trying to break into that. And so in order to do that, I am striking it and hoping that the Hertzien cone creates an area like right there where I could dig into it and strike another piece, which is what I'm doing there. So I keep flipping it up and down. So what I end up doing is making a zigzag pattern into the more square edges. So I'm just being very careful so I don't cut myself. And there, that was a nice piece that helped me dig in. And right there I'm digging in and I'm getting deeper. As you can see, that once very square edge is now kind of got a sharper edge while I'm creating platforms. And platforms are the striking areas to let the sides of the Hertzian cone ride into the body of your material or your stone. And now I'm abrading and making those platforms ready for me to strike into without them crushing or failing. So you can never really abrade enough, but I'm just hitting a small tip there. And I'm just going to try to, I think I'm going to do another pass here and knock that off there so I can get into the other side and hit that square off. So now I just keep flipping it over and then I'm just going to hit, strike in, and then strike in. And I'm using a smaller bopper or percussion flaking tool so that I can have more control and not completely decimate the piece. Flint Knapping is really about economy of size, economy of scale. It's about feel. It's it's very touch. It's very tactile oriented. It's a very tactile oriented art form, and so it's you're going to go through a lot of rocks before you actually start to feel it. And I'm only speaking from experience. And again, I'm not that I'm a master nap or anything. I've just gotten to a point where I feel somewhat comfortable with it after a few tries. So right now I'm raising a platform. So if I want to strike on that top edge, on the opposite edge, I take off mass and then I flip it over. Then that becomes the piece that I'm going to strike on. So there's that. I'm just trying to, and those good, nice, sharp pops when you click, those are really good flakes. That's what you want to hear. That's what I want. So now I've kind of got an edge or got a thick platform there. It's starting to thin out. I'm starting to be able to find some purchase to get into the mass. And again, I'm raising the platform, so on the other side I can take off mass. I want to braid the sides there. I want to braid it. I'm just raising the platform further. So yeah, I want to be able to take off mass. I want to take that hump out the top there. But I need to work my way into it. So again, using the zigzagging technique, I'm building platforms up so I can get into that main hump. So that's what I want. I want that platform right there. You can see I want that hump out of there. I want to try to make sure I strike it. I'm going to need a heavier bopper so I can take some mass out. That did a little bit for me, not as much as I'd like. But build up the platform again. I'm building up that platform. I want to braid it down. And obsidian, in obsidian, you can see your platforms really easy because of the contrast of the dust and the stone. So you can see the hump that I'm trying to target. I want to take that one out first. That crushed. That's a good flake. Another good flake. So now I'm starting to eliminate mass. I could have driven a harder flake, but I was being safe. Probably too cautious, but... There we go. And you saw that flake just fell off. Now what happens, I created a hinge tractor. But that's okay, because I'm going to try to attack it from the other side. So now I'm going to go from the other side to help thin this out. A braid, a braid, a braid. So now, yep, I want to bite into that, and as you can see, I want less than 90-degree angles that I can get purchase into. And I can take off mass.
tight.
So I'm building a platform, and right there, I'm gonna take that out. Pap. That went for me. That's pretty good. There it is. So I've kind of got more or less a continuous platform set up, but I probably could have built up the platform a little better than what it is. I was worried about losing width on this. So, still learning. So there's a good flake that I'm setting aside to possibly make an arrowhead or a point out of. So now I'm just kind of looking over my work and surveying what needs to be taken out next. That's a nice flake. So I'm gonna braid, take that. So accuracy is important. That platform actually crushed on me, so I need to braid it more. There just wasn't enough purchase for the bopper to carry the flake through. There we go. So now I'm surveying what I need to take out next. And at the end of the day, what you're really trying to do is make a lens, so it's thicker in the middle than it is at the ends. And that's the structural integrity of most of your pieces. I mean, in a perfect world, is you want the tips to be thinner than the middle. Kind of like a discus. So yeah, I've got a thick edge I need to get rid of. So I'm trying to find out where I can take that out, and right there. That was a good shot. So now it's about trying to thin it down a bit. There we go. So I'm just going with a lighter touch, but as you can see how the Hertzien cone works, the bulb of it's always kind of going to bell out. It's going to be a narrow point where you strike, and it's going to fan out, and that's where the flake, or how the flake travels. So I'm going to lose some width, but that's okay because I'm trying to build up a platform to take mass off the other side. So that was a good example of how the flakes travel. So now I'm kind of freehanding it. And I just want little bitty flakes off of the edges so I can build my platform again. It's all about abrading and platforms. Abrading and platforms. And oftentimes you just want to nick it. You don't want to actually hit. That was a good flake. You don't want to actually hit the rock. You just want the edge of your bopper to just nick your pieces. So again, I'm just searching out good spot and I'm braiding. Nice. So I could have changed the angle on that so that the flake would have traveled. It hinged on me, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I just don't want to break the piece. That's what I'm more concerned about, is making the wrong move and breaking the piece in half, having gotten this far, which I've done a lot of. So now it's just a matter of finding the right angles and braiding and studying my plan of attack. What I try to do is I try to set up continuous platforms and work from one side to the next. So I take off flakes on one side, then I flip it over and I take off flakes from the opposing side. It's kind of my strategy. I don't know if it works kind of, but I'm sure there's refinement that's needed. And I've got a lot of mass towards the butt end. As you can see, it's taken shape a little bit. And the point is towards my wrist, and what I'm holding in my hand is kind of the butt end. So I need to thin that down. So I'm going to start off small. I'm going to break into towards that hump by my thumb, because I need to zigzag in before I can actually take that piece out. There, that was a good flake. And then there, that flake there. And then now I might be able to dig in and set up my platform. I'm gonna braid in that. A lot of times you can use your braider to help set up your platforms. And I've got a ceiling fan going above me. I've got shoes on, and I've got my glasses on as safety precautions. So I'm not inhaling too much dust at all because the fan above me is pushing the air. The air. And obviously I have a tarp down to keep from spreading all these really sharp microscopic pieces of obsidian and spreading all over the place. Yeah, that crushed on me, but we'll get it. We'll get it. Setting up platform, creating an area so I can get at that piece there. And yeah. There. Continuous platform there. Trying to work out. Trying to thin it down. I'm gonna work towards the tip a bit. A braid. That's a shout out to Eddie Starnader at Practical Primitive. He's a master napper. And you need to check out their website at practicalprimitive.com, and as well as Paleo Man Jim on YouTube. Those are my go-to resources for this. Practical Primitive, also check out Miss Julie Martin. She's a female napper as well, and she's got a good video on making arrowhead out bottle bottom. So that's that's an example of a flake coming off. That was what I wanted. I wanted to thin that tip. So yeah, it's thin now, and I had a hump at the tip that I needed to get rid of, and I was successful at that. Sometimes you get kind of cautious around the tips. You don't want to break it. So now the piece is getting thinner, it's coming into shape, so I'm really just worried about thinning the edges at this point and keeping starting to work towards symmetry for this size of biface. What I am missing, as you can see towards the butt, I need to thin it out. It's too thick. So I'm going to be working on that next. Yeah, so that's a hinge factor. That flake didn't go all the way across. So it creates a hump in the middle, which is not that bad from my point of view, but for those real pretty flake scars and really thin pieces, you don't want that. So it's starting to dial in. It's coming together a little bit for me. So I'm just going to freehand that. Just want to take off that little bit. Again, it's about feel. Not every strike needs to be hard and fast. Sometimes you just need those light ones. So I want to straighten up that line there. And take off some mass off the tip. So I'm just going to flatten that out. And just, yep. Continuous platform. That's coming in for me. Just little light taps. Don't need hard and heavy ones. So now I need to start taking off mass off the butt, but it's starting to dial in to become biface. If I was just needing a hand axe or something like that, I could probably stop here, and it'd just be kind of a tool to start hacking at something. But I want to thin it down some more towards the base. And I want to thin it some more, so I'm also shaping it. And abrading my edges so that I can make another pass. Let's see how we're going to get the base. So we're probably going to have to zigzag in too. And that corner looks so nice. I really didn't want to take it out, but I knew it was going to have to go. So I'm setting up that base. I didn't want it to go. That corner, such a nice corner. So now I'm just creating an opening so I can zigzag in. So notice the angle that I was holding the piece at and how that flake traveled. Okay, I wanted to take some mass out, and that was successful. So I'm raising a platform because I'm going to try to hit it from the other side. There. So that's helping. It's helping a little bit. So now I can kind of drive up the middle a little bit. I'm raising the platform. So I'm using my really rough abrader, and that's just to really take off and dull the edges so I can get good purchase, because I'm taking a risk here by trying to drive down that edge from the base. So I need good support. So I'm supporting it with my left hand there, and I want to make sure I braid it very well. So yep, that was a good flake, and I'll tap that in there. Yeah, now I can go at it from the other side, and then I'll take off a flake from that side. It's a strategy. It's your approach. And again, I just want good support, and so now I have a little nipple, so to speak, that I can just kind of chip away at. And I'm using my abrader to set up the platform. Just like so, and just kind of nick it just a little bit. And now I'm going to go for the gusto. I'm going to support it with my thumb so the shock doesn't ride all the way to the tip, which could break it. And now I'm raising the platform because I'm going to need to hit it from the other side. That flake was successful. And now I could create a continuous platform. And I'm just going to start taking off flakes. There we go. So that's not bad. I mean, it could be better, but I'm happy with it. I didn't break it. I didn't break my work. So it's dialing into a biface. Pretty much get in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some additional thinning flakes. I'm dulling up my platform so I can continue to thin and sharpen up my edge. So I'm using a lighter abrader that won't dull up the edge so much, but it'll just be enough so I can get some purchase with my bopper. This is a good example of a flake. So that's where I hit it. That was the platform. This is how it breaks off. And that's how it sits in there, like so. Good support is important because you want your flakes to carry, but you don't want to break your piece, and you don't want your platforms to crush or to fail. So I got a little mass in the middle there that needs to go. There it is. Change the angle on that, and that allowed me to get some purchase to take out the flake. So now I've got a little mass off the tip that I want to get at. So I'm going to freehand this edge. Yep, just to take a little bit off. There we go. That's what I needed. So I'm gonna quit while I'm ahead. More or less, this is a biface, and I could refine this and try to make it flatter and thinner, and actually put an edge on it. But essentially, just taking off mass using the Hertzien cone, meaning I'm hitting this at a particular angle to project flakes and to take off mass. There could be a lot more work on it. I could go deeper. But what I've learned over time is just to quit while I'm ahead. So, again, this is just a biface, and that's my attempt. So I'm being a little hard-headed, and I'm going to continue to try and thin this out a little bit and give it some more shape. So you just can see my strategy. I'm just basically setting up platforms and abrading by abrading, and then using my bopper to knock off flakes. And notice the angle that I'm using. I'm changing the angle of where I'm holding the stone a little bit more flatter on my lap versus off to the side. I just want the flakes to kind of skim off the edges, and I could even have held it a little bit more flat, I believe, because I don't want to dig too far deep into the edge of it for fear of creating too thin of a surface. But that is just my my lack of skill coming out. Taking advantage of a continuous platform. And I've got a bit of a hump in the middle there. I've allowed that to build up, and this is at a point where you could flute it. There's a technique called fluting, which is good for hafting spear tips onto a spear onto a handle. I didn't want to try to attempt that with this piece for this demo, but what I will do is I will set up so that I can drive a flake down the middle to thin it up a little bit so it's not so much of a hump down the center.
So by face, what I'm going to try to do is see if I can get rid of this mass. It's a bit of a lump that I created because I'm not getting deep enough into the mass. So I'm going to create a platform. I'm going to try to create a continuous platform that I can strike into. If I ruin the piece, it's all part of learning. Just need to make sure that I get a good platform going on here. That makes it need something a little heavier because I want the flake to travel. Hopefully I don't break it. That took out some mass right there. That was a good shot. Let's see if I can get lucky and do it again. Another one. It's another one. So I'm happy with those strokes. So like I said, I'm going to try to quit while I'm ahead. That needs a smaller mallet, smaller bopper. It's a biface. Here's a pile of our flakes. These are obsidian flakes. They are beyond razor sharp. You just have to be very careful. It's best to wear gloves. But this is what they use for surgery. And it's translucent, in fact. I don't know if you can see my fingers behind this, if the light is just right, but this is extremely sharp. So be careful with obsidian. I've got a ceiling fan going above me that's blowing the dust down so I'm not breathing it in, and I've got air eyewear on. But this is my flake pile, and I've got a few nice flakes that are from striking the main core that will give me good flakes to make arrowheads. You can make your arrowheads from your flakes, and you just do it with pressure flaking on a smaller scale. The concept is the same because it breaks the same. But this is a flake pile you'll get, and you know, this is a nice little glass pile. You know, one could, if one was a old school Muay Thai fighter, you could wrap your hands with some hemp and put some resin or some glue and, you know, dip this obsidian of your hands in the obsidian pile here, and now you've got your boxing gloves ready to fight old school Burmese boxing, old school Thai boxing. I don't recommend that, by the way, but that's what comes to mind for me. So I'm gonna pick out some of these flakes to make some good arrowheads or some points.